You are listening to GeekFest Rants on the IC Robots Radio Network.
You have located GeekFest Rants, the entertainment podcast for genre geeks like you.
Shall we play a game?
Covering the world of vintage and current film and television since 2010.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Featuring in-depth conversations on sci-fi, horror, fantasy, comics, toys, and conventions.
So say we all. So say we all.
And now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show.
You must have 1,000 questions.
Where's Ray?
Something inside me is awake. And I need help.
We are the spark that'll light the fire. We'll burn the first order down. I was raised to fight. For the first time, I had something to fight for. Rated PG-13.
Hi everybody and welcome once again to GeekFest Rants. My name is Carlos Perone, and today, as promised, we are doing our final The Last Jedi review. We are bringing in another guest once more to talk about how he felt about it. As I mentioned before, I'm trying to give you a three-way perspective. First one being my perspective, the second one being my son's perspective, somebody much younger who really liked the movie. And now I'm bringing you somebody who wasn't very happy with the movie. So you can kind of see the range now of where everything falls. Now, since my original viewing, as promised, I have seen the movie a second time. And it's really hard to say, that I have changed my mind. I still have all those problems that I had the first time I watched the movie. The second time was a little easier to watch. I can't tell you it was a reversal of my opinions on the movie, but it was just easier to watch because one of the things that kept happening to me during the first run of the watch was that whenever one of these plot holes or inappropriate moments or, over-the-top jokes would appear, I would get kind of caught in that moment. And whatever would happen afterwards, I would be concentrating on that previous moment and saying to myself, what the hell just happened here? This isn't Star Wars. So what's good about watching it the second time is that I am aware of all these issues and I kind of go with it, kind of let it flow through into the next scene so I can enjoy what happens next. With that said, the movie is still what the movie is a flawed movie. But when it comes to Star Wars, I'll go back to an old joke from George Carlin, and I hope I'm quoting it right, and that is and he says, sex is like pizza. When it's great, it's great. And when it's bad, it's still pretty good. So that's kind of how I see it. This isn't so bad that I'm going to burn all my toys. I'm going to stop watching the films. I'm going to take all my DVDs and crack them in half and throw them into the street. No. This isn't just great. That's the problem. I always want great I demand greatness from Star Wars because it's Star Wars. That's where I set the benchmark for a lot of things. And it's Star Wars. But just like I mentioned before, this film, I think what's happening is it's going to fall kinda in the Phantom Menace-y kinda range, let's say, where the Phantom Menace had some great sequences and then some pretty bad, choppy, ridiculous things. And we kinda were able to say, all right, yeah, but here comes a good sequence. It's right around the corner, there's another good sequence coming. This is what really happens here too. I mentioned it before. This movie is a rebooting of the franchise, but they're doing it in the wrong place. When you reboot something, at least in my opinion, you're going to do it in a place where it's a fresh start, where you don't have to worry about stepping over things. What this movie did is basically more or less what Alien 3 did to the Alien trilogy at that point. And that is, it stomps over old grounds and demolishes certain things that were built before it. I think the better choice here would have been to complete this trilogy in the manner that at least J.J. Abrams had started it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm no J.J. apologist, just like, most of us sometimes are Lucas apologists. But, yes, J.J. set up some major plot elements that maybe he didn't plan for because he knew he wasn't going to be dealing with it, so he let the next person deal with it. Things like Rey's heritage, Snoke's backstory, Luke. How will Luke be acting in the future? Because in Force Awakens, we only got to see him for 5 seconds and he doesn't say a word. So yeah, there are all these things that are set up. And granted, if you hate JJ, which a lot of people hate JJ, they're going to blame him for throwing out these potential mysteries without any answers, which is his trademark in a way. He's done that in the past, if you guys remember Lost. He kind of got the ball rolling on the series, created all these myths, and then said, all right, here you go, guys, figure it out. And that's how the show functioned. So, yeah, I can't tell you if that's the problem. But nonetheless, he sets up these things. I expect whoever follows him to continue with that mythology, whatever that mythology happens to be. But it has to be true. It has to be true to the canon. And yeah, that's one of the problems when you don't have one single person guiding, the ship, is that whoever happens to be the captain on watch will say, all right, now let's go 90 degrees in that direction. And I got a better idea. Let's go 180 degrees opposite direction. So that is a fault of the structure of how these films are apparently being put together. So I don't know. I imagine you blame Lucasfilm for that, because they are the ones who allowed, that decision making to be made. Plus, I'm also pretty sure that Rian Johnson didn't just say, listen, I'm a great guy, I'm writing this, and you guys don't like it? Tough. No. Lucasfilm had to approve the story. So this is more of a Lucasfilm problem of letting Johnson go in his own direction at this particular point. What should have happened is you continue with the story that JJ put together, continue in that manner of the story, and you finish this trilogy in a pleasant manner that does not, diminish the memory of at least the original characters, the original players. And then once all that is out of the way, sure, go completely nuts. Set it in worlds that we've never heard of, where rules are completely different. The Jedi are completely, in a different thought of in a different way with different powers. That's perfectly fine. That's the whole point of moving on, is you move on. But to do this gear shift, change in the middle, I still think it's a bad idea, because from a writing perspective, it's just awkward and jarring, and it just doesn't fit right. Lucas might have been a lot of things for people that, don't like him too much as far as his writing style, and he's not very good with characters in terms of how he writes them sometimes, very wooden. But one thing about him is that at least he was consistent within his own trilogies. He waited until the prequels in order to kind of redefine most of the rules of, what Jedis can and cannot do, and how people, interact with each other and that sort of thing. There was a tighter control, more consistent control, because you had one person making those decisions. And now I'm really not sure how many people are involved in making, the soup. So anyway, what I have for you next is my friend James giving us his opinion, thereby fulfilling the trilogy of opinions. So here's James.
What did I teach you?
You are the Duke of New York. You're a number one.
You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you.
Can you dig it?
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
That spawn of Satan.
Oh, really?
The Force will be with you, always.
All right, well, as promised, I'm giving you yet another opinion, just so it doesn't sound like I'm the only one who might have issues with this. We had an individual who was pretty happy with what he saw, with a couple of holes here or there, but overall happy. I'm also in that camp. In other words, I'm not ready to throw this whole, baby out, with the bathwater type of thing. But I had these kind of Phantom Menace-y kind of plot holes that it's like really great stuff over here and really weird bad stuff over there. So I'm trying to get somebody else's opinion, and I have James, who has been kind enough to join us again to give us his take on The Last Jedi.
You're going to the well on this one, digging me out of digging me out of the grave.
Tell me first, when did you see it, and what kind of presentation was it, and that whole thing?
I saw it on opening night, the Thursday night, at the IMAX 3D presentation, the best one in New York where everybody goes, and everything about that was fine. Actually, I do feel the 3D might have been a little wonky on this one. I haven't read anybody say, it bothered them or anything, so it could have been just me. But I felt it took me to keep seeing it like 3D should be. I almost felt like I had to close one eye a lot. I don't know if other people had that issue.
Really?
And I didn't feel like I read a lot of stories on it. It just, for me, it seemed a lot was happening. It was dark and gray in a lot of scenes.
Could it be the combination of 3D and IMAX?
It could be just a combination that I'm old and I can't see clearly anymore or something like that in my eyes. I don't know. Let
me just ask you something. Before you give me your impression on the film, just so our listeners understand where you're coming from, it would help to know what were your, let's say, general impressions on the entire saga in terms of, you're an OT guy, you're an original trilogy person. Then there's the prequel people. How did you, tell me how you feel more or less about those two, very general. And then how did you feel about Force Awakens and Rogue One? This way we kind of know where you're coming from, with your opinion.
So going into the theater, obviously, I like the original. I'm a Luke Skywalker, Han Solo guy. I like Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi. Empire is probably one of my favorite movies, as is a lot of people. But I think Empire and Star Wars A New Hope stand out. I think Jedi is then probably third, but not a distant third or anything. I don't hate any of it. I just think if you lived through that era, by the time you got to Jedi, you were a little older, so it wasn't as new and exciting. It was 3 movies in, plus all the other movies that have come out from in the time past Star Wars, like, Tron and Buck Rogers and Black Hole and Star Trek 1 and 2 and Road Warrior and everything we have experienced, Blade Runner. So by the time Jedi came, it wasn't as much awe and wonder. It was the conclusion of the story. Will we like it? Yes, it was entertaining. There was a lot going on. Was it as good as the other one? Probably not. It never can be. It's hard, blah, blah, blah. So that's how I felt. Prequel-wise, I like the prequels, and at the time I was disappointed, but I like them more as time passes, and I like them more as a result of the Clone Wars animated series.
Okay.
I think that shored up a lot of the problems with the characters and things because they were allowed to flesh out stuff that happens in between. So then, as you know that, going back into watching between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, because you have so much more depth to these characters, it's okay when they get to the point of Revenge of the Sith. You don't feel like, ugh. I don't anyway. Now I feel, I always was on the fence about it. I liked it, but I was not as excited as the original trilogy. But now I'm good with it. And I respect more what George was trying to do. He wasn't trying to copy. He was in the same world and environments and similar characters. But now I like the fact that he tried something. Fans just didn't go crazy with it. And I think there was probably not people like Gary Kurtz and Irvin Kershner and some other people that were in George's life during the original making of A New Hope and Empire that probably could have helped him clean it up a little bit. And it just, at that point in his career, he was pretty autonomous, and everybody around him was, yes, sir, yes, George, whatever you say, oh, it's wonderful, yes. And nobody really wanted to say, geez, this is a little flat, or maybe you need somebody else for this, or maybe you need some more of less or more of something.
Let me just add something that I would also throw in with your opinion of the prequels in terms of, I don't think anybody could have accused Lucas of retelling the same story all over again. In other words, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, "Oh, he's just redoing Empire for the prequels, or he's redoing Jedi, or even he's redoing A New Hope."
The template was all completely different, and now I think, I'll get to that, but I think now they're loosely trying to stay within a framework that works for some people, but it doesn't work for us, some of us. So I love Clone Wars, makes me like the prequels better. I pretty much love Rebels. I think they've really handled it well. I think they've brought themes that we like into the Star Wars universe and handled it through those Rebel characters that make us like some of the things we've seen, in the past. It enhances them. And then finally, more recently, I love Rogue One because I feel like that's in the same universe as the original trilogy. I feel like they were very, it's obviously you're making a movie 40 years later-ish, but it was still loyal to the style, the look, the feel of the environments and the ships and pretty much how the characters would have if they were, if it was made, 40 years ago. Which brings me finally to the new trilogy. I didn't like Force Awakens in the beginning. I was entertained by it, and there were elements of it that I liked. In that movie, in that world, I liked Poe and Finn and Rey, and I liked how it kind of was trying to go forward in a universe that had been war-torn and derelicts of old ships and things like that. As a fan, I didn't like the style. Now, it could be a knock on JJ, or it can be just a knock on stuff that we've seen over and over again in Star Wars and in other movies. But I just feel they went too safe. We need a sand planet because Tatooine was a sand planet. Okay, it'll be called Jakku. Okay, we need a super weapon. Well, we had 2 Death Stars. Okay, it'll be the Star Killer base, and we'll call it Star Killer because it'll be a throwback. And then we need a little, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and we need a Boba Fett type. And I just feel like, they really didn't try anything. It was going to be a slam dunk, first of all, and they didn't need to do a copy. But I guess it's Disney. They wanted to play it safe. They wanted to make sure every box was checked. And in this case, for me, I know it made $1 gazillion and it's a fan favorite for some people, but I explain this to people that I talk to. It's like cotton candy. It tastes good and it's going into your mouth, but basically 2 seconds later, it's melted away. And I don't think anybody will be going back 40 years from now and ranting and raving how much they love from their childhood The Force Awakens as much as people of our generation and even the prequel people who love Star Wars. I just feel like that's something you'll go back and as part of a Star Wars group of movies that you watch, or if you show it to your kids or grandkids or their kids, I don't think anybody's going to say, man, let's get together and watch The Force Awakens. And it's like, yeah, all right. Like we might say if we got together and had nothing to do to watch Empire Strikes Back or Star Wars or any of those type of movies that we tend to like from our past. So that brings me to The Last Jedi. Now, The Last Jedi had so much hopes and dreams attached to it that maybe would not be able to ever be fulfilled, but I really feel like of all the movies, it's the worst, including the theatrical version of basically the Clone Wars movie that they put out in 2008. And I don't want to say I hated it because there are elements. I was very disappointed in a lot of it. First of all, I'm a Luke Skywalker guy, and I like Mark Hamill on his first look into that, felt this was not Luke Skywalker. He even commented, and there was a press comment, and they walked it back, and I'm sure somebody said, please.
I've seen those.
I'm sure somebody said, please walk this back, no matter how you feel. We understand, but we need you to be, we need everybody to be into it 100%. Yeah. That he said, I disagree with everything you've created for Luke Skywalker, or however I'm paraphrasing it. And after seeing it, I agree. That's not the Luke Skywalker I grew up with, and that's not the Luke Skywalker I imagined his future would be, and certainly not the Luke Skywalker and the fate of the characters around him that I would have wanted. And to me, I bring it back to people of my father's generation love John Wayne and a lot of guys like that, the Cowboys, and they behaved in a certain way, whether they would fit into the modern world or not. That was the template, the type of template. And then there were people who were a little bit younger than my dad and a little bit older than us that Burt Reynolds and Clint Eastwood and those kind of guys were, even Jack Nicholson to a degree, were, those type of guys, more modern man's men and things like that. And then you even have guys now who maybe a Will Smith or somebody is like a really big star, and people look up to him and say, yeah, that's the way a guy is, he's blah, blah, blah. And now it kind of, I've read stuff, I've talked about it, explained it. It's a big disappointment to me that that's what they felt they needed to do. I feel like there's some sort of, I'm not going to call it a conscious decision because that would certainly be crazy, but it's probably like an unconscious decision that you have to undo the past. It's kind of like when a son takes over the dad's business and says, well, I can do it better. And sometimes they do, but a lot of times they make a lot of mistakes and they lose customers, and then they realize, dad kind of knew what he was doing. I guess we better just keep going as long as we can make money and modernize. So what happens is you have Captain Kirk. We've got to put Kirk and Picard together, but we got to kill Kirk. It's almost like they couldn't wait to kill Kirk. And then they realized a few years later, geez, that probably was a mistake. We could have used William Shatner in a couple of other things, perhaps, even in cameos or quickie little things. Nope, he's gone. And now we got to kill Han Solo. Oh, but he wanted to be dead in Empire and Jedi. And even in Empire, maybe he wanted to be dead. So let's give it to him. We can kill Han Solo. It's like,
what is it about this new Luke that does not fit the original mold of Luke?
Well, he's not a hero. And I understand that heroes sometimes get challenged and beat up, but this guy is not a hero. This guy is like, Yoda went away to hide, because he was afraid. Yoda went away to hide because he wanted to be there if there was the opportunity to train future. This guy doesn't want to train people. He doesn't want to be involved. He left his sister. He left his friends. First of all, the universe is in shambles. Not that one man can change it all, but I would like to think the Luke Skywalker of Star Wars Empire and Jedi would have at least tried. I didn't care for this. I didn't care for this interpretation. And while I assume we're allowed to discuss in terms of loose spoilers here, people who are listening probably know.
Oh, yeah. No, we're spoiling everything. We're spoiling it all.
His ending was a little bit, it was a little bit jovial. It was a little bit like, if they actually fought, if they were actually face to face with each other, and that's how it went down, even if he died, he basically set Kylo Ren straight in a lot of ways. But it was almost like, fire everything at him, and then he's not there. Okay. And then he's wiping off the dust off his shoulder like, it's like, all right. I mean, that's not terrible. But then the whole thing, it winds up, can you even do that with the Force? I guess now the Force can do that. You can be galaxies away or planets away, and you can project yourself clearly that the enemy believes it's you. Okay, it just didn't feel good to me that that's how he went out. And then basically, he won, but he lost because now he's dead.
Well, let me ask you, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I've never seen before to use to this extent, and I'm talking about the humor. To me, some of it worked, and some of it went way too far to the point where it's satirical now. It's almost like now it's a comedy.
A lot of people said it. It's Star Wars by way of Spaceballs.
Yeah, Spaceballs or Robot Chicken or Family Guy.
The thing about these movies is when you step aside, comic book movies, science fiction movies, even Indiana Jones and certain cop-type shows and movies, if you look too closely, it's so easy to make fun of it because it's not realistic, and we know that. So certain times you need a little lightheartedness or a little chuckle. And that's fine. But if you start laughing at it within, and the characters within are laughing at themselves, and the first 2 minutes, the General Hux thing, and other people have said it to me and said, I think he's making you're a tool or something. It's like
he's tooling with you, sir.
Yeah, he's tooling with you. I mean, first of all, that's modern colloquialism, so I don't know if that's necessary. But it's okay, but you're almost like, now you're taking me out of it because you're using modern language. It's like, he's dissing you, sir, or something like that. It's like, oh, no, he didn't. It's like, are we going to go to that level next? And what I think is, and we can go back to Disney or JJ or anybody, but it's the Marvel style of movies.
Well, that's the first thing I thought of when I was seeing it is this Thor Ragnarok? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know if you saw Thor Ragnarok, but the comedy works in Thor Ragnarok.
Exactly. And it would work and Spider-Man is saying goofy things. That's the way his character was written.
But this is a little more serious. This is supposed to be serious.
It's not, we have the fate of galaxies and stuff, and maybe they're trying to say, hey, it's just a movie. But if they're not taking it serious, why should I? And why should most of the audience? And I think that's hurt them.
Or let me give you another example. This is not an offshoot movie. Maybe if you want to experiment experiment with something a little more silly.
You want to do something in the Han Solo movie.
Yeah,
and you want to make that a little more lighthearted because
yeah.
they're young, they're scoundrels, they're upstarts. Fine.
And ironically, the two directors were fired because they were saying they were making it too funny.
Yeah, and
for the Han Solo movie.
And the whole thing, it's like, if you're not going to respect it, why should I? Yeah. And that's where I fell off right away. And then there's obviously the plot holes we're going to get to. And then it was just way too long. It was not necessary.
Yeah.
I loved the character of Finn. Finn was exciting. We were watching it through his eyes, just like here's a guy who's now seeing the universe from a different angle, and he's excited about it, and he's
in this movie,
and he's meeting new people, and in this movie he's hanging out. And I would have rather them say, and I've read different reasons, they were originally going to put Poe with him, and then they couldn't put Poe with him because that would have wrecked some other thing down the line, and it wouldn't have worked, and it would have made it seem, to me, I would have rather them say, Finn's got to go on this mission with that girl, and I hope they succeed. And then they go, and you can show them they're out there, and then you can come back to them and cut out a half hour of crap because it wasn't necessary. I think the whole thing, they were trying to get a Lando-esque character without Lando and get a name like Benicio del Toro to get part of it because they had, and he was a waste. He was a wasted character. And has anybody ever said to you Benicio del Toro is a breath of fresh air in a movie and he's so dynamic? No, Benicio del Toro comes in because of his cool, because of his understated performance, and because he can kill you by his smoldering. He's going to kill you by just looking at you type of thing. In some of his movies, and now look, it was just what a waste. And then to come to okay, now he's the bad guy. Like, oh geez, I didn't see that coming a mile away. And so that let me down. And finally, another character was wasted, was Laura Dern. And you put Laura Dern in, and she's got a pedigree of big movies, and she's beautiful, and it's like, well, geez, why not just give all that heroicness and that badass heroicness that she was having with Poe, and just give that to Carrie Fisher, and let Carrie Fisher die at the end because now she's passed away. You had to let her go eventually, and now we could just, sorry Laura, thank you, you were beautiful, but now we've lost Carrie Fisher, and we could make her be the one who sacrificed herself, and there's not a dry eye in the house that she's gone because she's gone in real life. Just like any of these movies, when the Joker dies, when it's Heath Ledger who dies on the screen in front of you, even though it wasn't. It's when Paul Walker dies or leaves the screen at the end of the movie in his last Fast and Furious. He's gone, and you cry and you're sad because we know he's dead, and various other characters who are never coming back, and sometimes they can handle it well. And now, at the end, everybody's giving big hugs, and Leia's still there, and it's like, Luke's gone, Leia's still there, but she can't come back. She's gone, and they didn't even consider that now. How are they going to do it? Leave a little on the cutting room floor. Maybe you make her a ghost with some of her performances, and just put put a voice actor in, or do different, do something. But now you've boxed yourself in a corner. And why was Laura Dern there? What's the point? She basically came in to bust Poe's buns and then be somewhat heroic, but it seems like a waste. It just seems like everything in this movie was squandered.
Speaking of Leia, you mentioned Leia. Tell me what you thought of her, because I had a really big problem, and I know I'm not the only one.
Oh,
there's major problems, but her space flight scene. What'd you think of that?
She can be powerful in the Force, especially after 30 years of either getting some training from Luke or honing it on her own with experience and
but she hasn't.
but now she's floating in space like Kal-El or Mary Poppins, or I don't even know what to say of it.
And it's almost like she's not even willing it to happen. It's the Force that's rescuing her, not her channeling the Force.
And then afterwards, she's still incapacitated for a quarter of the movie. And what a waste of her. So why are we wasting Carrie Fisher when we know now? Now, that's fine. When they wrote the movie, we didn't know she was going to pass. And when they filmed most of the movies, they didn't know she'd pass. But they had a year before it was released to retool and reconfigure some things. And they could have made her the heroic ending, and she's doing it because at that point there's one ship left, and then that ship's gone, and there's nobody left except the few people who the Millennium Falcon saved. So what could be more heroic? They even wasted Admiral Akbar. Admiral Akbar is the hero that they brought back from 30 years ago, and he's got one of the most famous lines in movie history now, ironically, not just Star Wars history. It's a trap. Okay, everybody's going to be saying, anytime you hear the word trap, you're going to think Admiral Akbar if you're from a certain age. And he dies off screen. They gave General Raditz in the Rogue One a better heroic ending than the guy who was the hero of 3 decades. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a movie. It's just a movie. They're allowed to do what they want. I'm just not into participating anymore. And sometimes, and I said this. I texted some people, and I said, it's right there in the movie. You can't ask for any more. Let the past die. Let it end. It's got to die. Kylo Ren, he's got the most perfect line, and some people are now reading into that, saying that they did this movie on purpose because they want to go forward. No, make these movies as reverential as anything else in Star Wars that you consider reverential. And then they gave this director 3 more movies, theoretically, to work with, his own trilogy to work with. Put him, and then you can be funny, you can be unreverential, you can make the Force, now the Force can make balloon puppets, whatever you want, do it in that movie. But make these 3 movies the same vein and continuation and seriousness, because now I feel like if you show these movies, there's clearly this movie, which one doesn't belong. This is the square peg in the round hole of Star Wars, because it's not going to hold up. I'm telling you, the people who think they love it right now, once it comes out on home video, nobody goes to see movies as many times as they used to anyway. And the ones that do are just really true fans that will go see out of respect, and they may actually like it. What I'm saying is, this movie made me like The Force Awakens, and I didn't like The Force Awakens, as we've just discussed. So that's something.
Well, some of the feedback I'm hearing, and it is, I get the feeling a lot of it might be, I could be wrong, but a lot of it could be just blowback against JJ. In other words, I hate JJ so much that I'm going to love whatever the next guy does.
But JJ's not part of this movie,
because
and
there are people that are almost like, good, this is destroying what JJ did. We love the fact that that JJ's world is getting destroyed in terms of the story.
They're destroying what George did. I'm even reading people are saying, oh, they blame George Lucas for this, and there's actually, that's a good thing that somebody said that, because they're bringing out potential things that were part of George's treatments that were basically thrown in the garbage. And to me, this Star Wars should be still somewhat part of George Lucas. And I know life goes on. He sold the company. That's that. Blah blah blah. They've made James Bond movies without Ian Fleming. They've made They've made Peanuts without Charles Schultz. It goes on and on and on. But the man is there. He provided you with a treatment, and you said, thanks, we're going to do it our way. Well, don't be surprised if it doesn't all come together, because that doesn't feel, what I saw, it doesn't feel like Luke Skywalker. It doesn't feel like Princess Leia. And it certainly doesn't feel like the Star Wars that I know.
What did you think of Canto Bight, the fact that we are now traveling to a new location?
Stupid.
Other than the fact that it is kind of pointless that they were there in the first place because they didn't achieve anything, but what do you think of this new world?
It was for them to show off a Bespin-esque. Check off the box. We need a Hoth-esque type thing with AT-ATs. Well, instead of 6 AT-ATs, we want 20 AT-ATs, and they're bigger, and they're monkey-looking, and they're stronger, and they can't be knocked over. Okay, so we need a Bespin-style guy with our scoundrel who's going to betray them. Okay, well, let's make it here. And why? Even the original guy, if anybody even realizes this in the movie, the guy they were looking for wasn't Benicio del Toro. That was an accident. No. The guy they were looking for was Jennifer Aniston's husband in real life, who had a bad mustache.
But they get arrested before they can approach him, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, why would you even put that guy in there? He's a fantastic writer and a good actor, but why would you put him in there? Why not put in Billy D. Williams, who is still alive, and then have him get scooped up or something, and it's like, whoa, hey, and he could be charming and funny, and then go to Benicio. If you don't want to get Lando involved in being a scoundrel a second time and stabbing his friends in the back. What I'm saying is, why would you pick people that don't have any connection to the movies and don't? Is it just because we can give out favors to people who want to be in a Star Wars movie? Well, they wasted that guy.
Cameos to your friends, I guess.
But they wasted that guy. At least, okay, they supposedly put, last time they put Daniel Craig as a stormtrooper, and they supposedly put this time they put the Prince Harry and William and a couple of other people I've been reading, and the guy who played
Tom Hardy,
the guy who played Robin in the last Batman movie that anybody liked.
He played the voice of the guy that turns them into the cops.
Yeah, it's some kind of creature. That's all fine, but it's like, the character of consequence turns out to be of no consequence, and it's got an actor with a bad mustache. It's like, really? Why doesn't he have a funny nose and glasses too? Did they? Because clearly they were making a joke that he was supposed to be some like a sophisticate, and then he gets swept up in this whole,
Well, the whole thing to me looked like something out of the James Bond movie, like a Casino Royale type of super luxurious resort
I guess they were trying to make
place.
they were trying to make Finn not just some scoundrel. But you know what? By that point, Finn already pissed me off, and here's why: because he was already trying to escape again, and I know he was going it for good causes to go find his friend Rey, because she'd never find us again if we leave, but he's already been again.
Well, he's actually trying to get her not to come there because they're trapped.
I know, but what I'm saying is he looks like he's trying to escape, and the girl has to stun him because it seems like he's trying to escape. And you know what? In the last movie, he was already trying to escape because he was a bit of a coward, or seemingly like it was too. And now it made him. So I'm supposed to find him to be one of my top 3 characters in this movie, and now twice they've made him into a wuss, into a coward running away. Whether he did or not, I understand.
Speaking of that girl, what did you think of the character Rose in terms of her? What's her purpose?
Hated her.
And do you like her or not like her?
Hated her, complete waste, and it's racist for me to say it, and the terrible person, and I'm all these other bad things you're going to say, or the audience can say.
It's got nothing to do with the race. It's the character. It's a useless character.
Marvel is trying, Disney is trying to, movie companies in general are trying to have a bigger presence in Asia and China in particular. It's a character that maybe was able to be identified with, a heroic character that could be identified with the Asian community. It's a fact. You don't tell me it's not. You can call me names and say I'm a racist for saying it.
No.
But
what I'm saying
true.
is that if
it's
she wasn't Asian,
the same thing in Rogue One. They put in those guys. Now those guys were perfect. Those guys, there couldn't have been 2 better guys in Rogue One than those guys.
No, but James, what I'm saying is, think about this for a second. If she wasn't Asian, if she was plain white or black or Hispanic, the character would be just as useless. I would feel exactly the same about the purpose.
And that's why I'm telling you earlier, completely a waste. Say, Finn and Rose are off on a mission. I hope they succeed. Yeah, if without them, we're never gonna. They're the most important people in the universe right now. Make them, and then when they come back with the heroics, don't show me all that stupid Canto Bite thing, Blight, whatever. It's just it was the worst. And finally,
to me, it looks like they're forcing a love triangle. Really, that's what they're trying to force.
And unfortunately, there was no. I didn't feel any. I didn't like.
There's no chemistry
with Han, Luke, and Leia. You felt like, hey, this could go either way. Until all of a sudden, by the end of Empire, you're like, there's no way she's Han's girl. This one, there was no chemistry. No, I didn't want chemistry. It made me even cringe a little bit that they were getting involved. Because it's like, oh, really? Is that what they're trying to do? Let's just move forward and keep with the action and not try to mimic anything in the past. And finally, the whole Poe thing, what a complete waste. He starts off like a superstar, and then he's like, oh, what are they doing? Like then he's kind of, they've got to generate excitement with him because he's just another one of these guys on the ship saying, what aren't you telling us? Why aren't we doing this? Why are we not trying to save more people? And by that point, I couldn't care less. It's like, you're wasting everybody. Just let him.
But what are you more upset about? The fact that he keeps demanding an answer, or the fact that Laura Dern's character Holdo doesn't say anything? She just keeps her mouth shut and makes the situation worse.
It was poorly written. Why was it a secret? Why doesn't she just say, look, I'm a hero from the past. I've got a plan. You have to respect me. I'm in charge. And this is kind of what my plan is. Like, what was she? Afraid there was like a spy? I don't know. They're going to find out? Well,
no,
there's really
I hear that basically she's trying to teach him a lesson to not be such a hot shot. But I think it's the worst time in the world to teach somebody a lesson in the middle of a crisis.
And besides the fact that Star Wars turned into Battlestar Galactica, what Battlestar Galactica was supposedly a ripoff of Star Wars all those years ago, with, okay, we're only down to 4 ships. And 30 people. Oh, we're only down to 3 ships and 20 people. Oh, I hope we don't lose that ship. Oh, now we lost that ship too. Where are we going? We got to go hide. Oh, I hope somebody's going to save us. It's like, really? Messages? It's the same thing in the new Battlestar Galactica, where they still
remember that episode 33 where they keep finding them every 33 minutes?
Well, that was reminiscent of this, but also also it's like all in the original in the new Battlestar Galactica. It's like, oh, we've got media people. Oh, Madam President. There's 50,000 or less people. At the end of the show, they were probably down to like under 50, between 40 and 50,000, if they were even lower by that time. It could have been. I don't even remember what the math was. But we've still got the reporters asking dumb questions like, Really? That's the most important thing? We want to know what the president thinks about something? How about she just talks to everybody of the fleet? People of the fleet, there's only a Yankee Stadium worth of us left. Let's do what I plan to do, and Adama's going to help us. Okay. Same thing in this movie. Just tell the people there's barely any of them left. Leia's already been sucked out and sucked back in. Come on, let's not play games. And by the end, I didn't care. And we haven't even gotten to Rey yet, Rey and Kylo.
Well, let me throw a couple more characters at you. Phasma. Is she dead finally? Do you think she's dead?
Well, if she's not...
Another wasted character.
If she's not, it's stupid. She should have been dead already. I understand. Let her have that backstory of like saving herself at the last minute and pinning the blame on some other doofus or something. And, but then I figured for sure in this one she's going to have something. No, not much. Banged her stick around with Finn and eventually got blown out. And it's like, all right, really? At least Boba Fett got sucked down into a... whatever that was, the Sarlacc. This was just... she got blown up. It's gone. Finn didn't even kill her. It wasn't even Finn. No,
she kind of fell. She fell down in the pit, fire pit.
I fall and then I can't get up. But
now, let me ask you something. Snoke, his backstory, the fact that they apparently might not be giving us any importance to who he is. Does that bother you at all?
That's fine. All the time between... The trouble with what we do and what happens now, it's turned in. It was the Wild West and it was fun. Now it's kind of like, if I put three theories of Snoke proven, somebody will click on it. I'll get 10,000 clicks, and then I'll get $10 in my YouTube account. So now people are like, we know what this is. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. It's like, turned out it was none of it, and that might have been an FU. That might have been a conscious FU from the writer and the director to say, everybody doesn't have to be somebody, which we had been actually clamoring for. I would have actually been annoyed if Rey was somebody's daughter or something that they didn't remember or they didn't want to talk about or something. It would have felt so cheesy that the whole universe revolves around these same three people all the time. There's no other dynamic parts of the universe that some new people. So if that's the case, I still think there's something else. There's probably something. It was just too simple. Some people are even saying that Snoke is now kind of in Kylo because he got cut in half so just too easy. Yeah. It was just like a guy like that is in charge of everything and punking everybody, and then he gets punked himself, as the kids say. It just seems a little wacky that it was so easy that was it. But it actually felt good. As I was watching, it was like, yeah, F him. After all that, F him. And but that's why I think there's probably something we'll find out about it, But the whole thing. I've helped you to communicate. I did it, and you communicated. By the way, yeah, you can communicate, and she can see you with your shirt off. So be careful. That's a little weirdness in there. That reminded me of Anakin with his shirt off in Attack of the Clones. But then it turns into, wait a minute, they're still communicating after Snoke's supposed to be dead. So am I supposed to read into that Snoke is still a presence somewhere and maybe...
Yeah, how are they doing that if he's dead?
Well, maybe he's, like I said, that's why people are trying to say he's actually in Kylo now somehow.
Right. Or maybe Kylo figured out how to do it. That would actually
make sense and make it less of a cop-out, That would then at least, okay, yeah, we think he's gone. It was so easy. Kylo's the most powerful man in the universe, except it's really inside him is, like this boogeyman.
What about Yoda? What did you feel about his cameo in the film, his secret part?
It was nice to see him and all that, but it was kind of like, Yoda is, in the world of Star Wars, whether people want to admit it or not, Yoda is responsible for a lot of the troubles that existed in this universe, from Anakin to the troubles that Luke has to go through. It's like, Yoda, the most powerful Jedi Master, is going to, he's trained generations of people and he's going to train Luke and everything like that. It's like, but that's the guy who couldn't tell that Sidious was standing in front of him all those years, turning into the most, evil leader of the free universe. So the whole thing, I think they were a little disingenuous how they treated Yoda. A little apology, maybe. He says, I was screwed up, and I think I learned from screwing up that maybe then he could be that irreverent guy who said, it was funny. Oh, did you read those books? Real page turners there were. That was funny. Everybody laughed. I laughed. That's fine, because usually most of the time that these sacred scrolls or sacred books or even, whatever, they're mostly BS that people just put on a pedestal and say you're supposed to like them, but they're just,
Yeah, but Rey has them now. They're in the Falcon.
I know, but what I'm saying is the whole interpretation is he was dismissing it all. It's all bullshit, he's saying. It's all bullshit. Either do it or don't do it. That was basically his lesson. Do or do not. There's no try. Well, now he's like saying, yeah, you don't have to read them if you want. That tree, that all that crap. I mean, he's basically shitting on all the stuff that they've set up that he was the founder and guardian of for all those years. That people had to go to him and get his approval and kiss his ring. And now, you don't have to read them. They're stupid. Just, okay, fine, whatever. But, it was nice to see.
Why don't you now tell me, what did you like about? There's got to be something good, because I found a lot of things that I did enjoy about the film. There was just a lot of things I did not enjoy. But what were some of the good things or sequences that you liked?
I liked Poe and I didn't get while I'm about to say that, BB-8 is now like they call it the Deus Ex Machine or something like that, however it's pronounced. Like BB-8 can do everything. BB-8 can fly. BB-8 can become a casino.
Well, he's like an animated character now,
So that was the fine. He was one of my favorite characters, and now they've all kind of like fallen apart. I liked him and Poe in the beginning. I think they have an awesome relationship, and like, oh, you brought back my droid or something at the end, and you could tell there was a genuine bond between those two characters, like Luke and R2, or R2 and 3PO, or Han and Chewie. So at least they've been able to replicate, for the modern world, a team, so to speak. And people, you get the opinion that they really do care about each other in this movie.
Did you like the new ships in the beginning, the bombers and the other ships?
I like the Porgs. I know that's going to find people. That's people are going to find that a surprise that I'm going to say that. I really felt they had the right tone, and they were the right. They appeared at the right times. Even the Chewie eating one of them was kind of like, hey, there's more to the universe than just you. And I like that they kind of then became, an entity, a part of it. I don't know why I like it. It wasn't because like they're cute or anything. They're not even that cute. It fit. Their tone fit. Maybe even better than the Ewoks. And I don't have a problem with the Ewoks for what they were. What else did I like? I was not inspired by John Williams' music. I was a little disappointed. I thought, because the way this guy has made movies, I thought we were going to get some spectacular cinematography. And people are saying, the Octo scenes, they're so beautiful. It's Ireland and everything. It's like, everything looked gray to me. Everything just seemed gray and boring. And I didn't feel like there was anything exciting that I want to see again, where I could still, I'm still learning things about Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi that I want to see again because of, there's 4K now and you see little things or things that have been added or whatever. There's nothing in this movie I feel, man, I want to see. I think they tried to be a little absurd. It didn't bother me, but they tried to be a little absurd with Luke getting his green milk. That's one of your favorites.
A little, you think?
That was one of your favorites because you love milk so much, and green milk especially. If only you could have one of those in your lake. But the whole thing, like, that was just part of it. That was just part of his. This isn't Luke Skywalker. He's acting like a jerk. For whatever reason, he's treating her like a jerk. She doesn't know. She wasn't there. And then why throw the lightsaber over your shoulder? Like, F you, whatever. You brought this thing, holy...
Like it's a turd or something.
Not any confusion, like, holy cow. I mean, the Force is crazy, but how is this back in my hands after all these decades and all this, excitement that's happened in our lives? Maybe I better ask this girl some questions. It's like, maybe he knew. It's possible he knew the Force. Maybe the Force talked to him and told him there'd be another. Okay, but at that point, it made it seem like he was just a big douche. And I was disappointed that that's what my hero became. And then I figured at some point he would redeem himself. And I guess he did in a way. What did I like? I loved that R2 and Luke had that same connection when they saw each other. I loved that the message of A New Hope with Leia was brought back to help him convince himself or be, however it was convinced. I do think Yoda played an important part, but I also think they forget his role in the trouble. It's the same thing. It's like, oh yes, he's so wonderful and everything. It's like, dude, you couldn't see the guy standing in front of you that was the biggest evil. Just that you lose your moral compass or whatever. And geez, what else?
How did you like the fight in the throne room with the Praetorian guards? That was my favorite part of the whole movie.
It's funny. I thought you would say that because I know you like those kind of guards and those things. I thought there was something missing here, and I thought it was shot very flat. I don't know. It didn't feel right. Something about it didn't feel right the way they shot it, and they were trying to like make it a little more dynamic than other fight scenes in Star Wars. And now these guys, we've only seen those guards either in the animated shows or standing there basically looking menacing as guards. But now they actually, these are probably what those guards can do. They're like ninjas. They're the elite forces. But I didn't like the way that scene was shot personally. I just thought something felt weird. It felt like it was, sometimes they put like movies and it'll have that weird feel like they stretch it out or something. It just, to me, it didn't feel like as cool as I could have hoped for.
I know what your favorite part was in Canto Bight, them riding on those horse
that disappointed
weird creatures.
Me. And I saw
the Harry Potter moment of the movie.
Yeah, I saw that coming from a mile away. And Harry Potter, I forgot about that. I was going to say the never-ending story. It's like, oh, it's so wonderful.
That's exactly what I said, never-ending story. I said that too.
We can fly away and everything is wonderful in the world. And, please, I'm just like you. Don't hit the button. It bring a tear to my eye too. Oh, and it's like, that made me hate that character even more. That Rose. It's like,
What about the opening battle with the new ships, the Dreadnought and the bombers, the rebel bombers?
Yeah, that's the one I said I liked. The Poe in the battle. But as soon as then they get to the point where the bombers are, I didn't like the bombers. I didn't think. I know I sound terrible. I didn't hate the movie. I just didn't like it. It just wasn't a good Star Wars movie. It might have been an okay science fiction movie if it didn't have the word Star Wars attached to it, and I might have found some more things to like. But in the world that I expect, when we've talked about this, you go to a James Bond movie, you expect a British-speaking guy who can use some smarts and gadgets and strength to beat the bad guy who wants to conquer the world. There are certain things you want. You might want a pretty lady in there that sometimes he dates or whatever, or hangs out with, and that's what you get from same thing with the Harry Potter movie. You get a couple of kids who are magically inclined trying to fight off a bad guy who's also magically inclined. There's just things. Well, in this one, we come to expect cool-looking ships, and they've been selling these ships like through the Legos, through the toys, like they must be fantastic. This must be the greatest thing. Look at, they're selling them so much. They're iconic. They're already iconic. No, the walkers. Why do we even need the walkers on that planet? You got the cannon. The walkers are just there in addition because we can make 20 walkers CGI. The bombers, same thing. Bombers pretty much didn't do anything, but they had to have something.
Well, the walkers, I mean, I think I figured out the reason why you saw both regular walkers and the big ones is just so you can tell the difference in size, I think.
Yeah, well, then just have the regular ones. How about that?
Just so you can say, wow, look, these new ones are twice as big.
They brought back the A-Wings. The A-Wings were crap then and they're crap now, but they brought them back. At least we could identify with them, and they seem cool still all those years later. And then the new X-Wings are basically based on the Macquarie X-Wings and stuff, or whatever, whoever designed that particular style of X-Wing.
Well, the cool thing about the X-Wing is in the beginning, and I think I mentioned this to you, was that fifth engine in the back. It is part, again, I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but it is part of the initial concept model that I think Colin Cantwell did. And you see that extra engine. Some
of that kind of stuff is cool that they bring back, but after a while it's like they've done it in Rebels, they've done it in Rogue One, they've done it in Force Awakens. Now you're going to do it. Just let's have some new cool stuff. Use that as a basis and move on. But I didn't like any of the ships, the dreadnoughts, everything. Can you explain to me how a universe that has basically seen the rise and fall of the Empire, the resistance, the rebels, whatever they're going to call themselves, have basically been the law and order for a good portion of the past 30 years, and all of a sudden the First Order come back out of the ashes of the Empire and have everything is 3 times the size, if not more. The Snoke ship, if you look inside the book, the cutaway book, inside Snoke's ship,
I did.
It's a 50,000 person arena. So imagine a baseball or football stadium inside the ship. So you know how big they are in real life. Add that into a ship.
No,
then the ship is ginormous,
measure it.
ridiculously ginormous. Then the other ships are bigger than the old ships used to be. Like you had Vader's ship was like, oh my god. The Executor, it's like, oh my god, it's so big, it's majestic, it's got its own music, theme music. And that was a toy compared to the Star Destroyers in this new...
Yeah, you can park a few of them inside in the book.
Okay, how did this happen? Where did they get the money from? Who's doing it? Who's got the factories? And throughout all that time, nobody knew, holy shit, I heard something on the other side of the galaxy. They're kicking ass in this factory, building all this stuff. You might want to check it out. I'm not sure if it means anything, but... Oh, no, we're much too busy governing. We much too busy fighting amongst ourselves and governing for us to go to the other side to check out what's going on in this unknown territory. And how do they still have an unknown territory? You have an unknown territory in the old days. You maybe have an unknown territory during the war because that's where like the chaos is and like the smugglers and stuff. So you really can't police everything if you're the Empire. And now there's still unknown territory. You didn't send out envoys to bring the unknown territory into the resistance or to the Republic.
It's as if the Empire continued to work and function in the Outer Territories, and people were still, I guess, enslaved by them like nothing ever happened.
Then F
like
the Republic if they can't figure out how to. It's like winning World War II and then letting Germany. Well, we've got Berlin under, but Hamburg is. We don't know what's going on there. Maybe they're building new stuff. Well, they're probably okay up there. It's like, no, you've got to be you won. You got to take over. And if there's people, you fight the battle of Jakku. The ships crashed. You saw the derelicts of them. How do they build these massive structures? Who's paying for it? Now I want to know where's the money coming from? Who's getting the money?
Well, let me ask you a wrap-up question here, and that is, going forward here, what they're telling us here is basically that the resistance is over because there's not enough people left. They started out, the movie starts exactly where the previous one ends. They're evacuating that same base where they were celebrating the destruction of Starkiller Base, and now the movie ends with a handful of people that that can fit into the Falcon.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? 30 people?
They didn't
maybe
kill everybody. They just killed those freedom fighters. So the Republic homeworlds are basically destroyed from the Starkiller Base, and now
gone.
The elite forces, or the forces that Leia took with her,
the fleet,
the people. See, that's the thing. That wasn't all the Republic. That was the resistance that Leia took with her because she wasn't getting any support from her, and they were enemies.
Right, the Republic
so now
no longer exists because all the home worlds got blown up.
Now there's no resistance. But what you're going to find now is, because I suppose they're in the next movie or something, they're going to allege that these people start coming out of the woodwork now because these people fought and sacrificed and died, and now other people have to step up. And that's what I think they're showing. I think they're showing they pushed a little bit too much with hope in the past couple movies. But
Poe, the next leader,
but this kid at the end, which really was not the right tone, but I get what they're doing. That kid is like a representative of other people. It could be stable boys who. That's the future. It's not, the future isn't heroes and Jedi and masters and Force users. The heroes are the people who have the will and maybe have some Force sensitivity, or maybe they just have the right stuff, as they say. Like, basically, Finn, it turns out, is just a guy. He's just a guy who was a stormtrooper. He switched sides and he's doing the right thing, supposedly. It's people like that the universe is going to count on next. And I guess besides the whole Kylo and Rey Force stuff, the rest of the universe is basically the regular common people stepping up and finally putting an end to tyranny or something like that, or whatever.
Do you think the next movie is going to have to jump, like, let's say 10 years into the future so these younger kids can grow up enough to be actors in the next film? Or you think they'll stick to the current timeline?
Oh, no, I think it's the current timeline. I think it's going to move ahead a few years. I don't think it has to be decades. I think it's less than 10 years and more than probably 2 or 3 years. So, but who knows? Like, they're all on the run hiding, but you can't really expect me to believe that they're going to not show us the next 10 years when Kylo can communicate with Rey like he's got a cell phone with her, like they're instant messaging. It's a little too corny to believe that they wouldn't find each other just from their Force sensitivities or something like that. So that's why I think it won't be an exorbitant amount of time that passes. But I kind of don't care. I know it sounds terrible, but I'm not being bitter. I'm not being anything. You killed Luke. You killed Han. It's over. Thank you. Thank you for the ride. That was your interpretation of it. I didn't like it, and I don't want to watch it anymore. It's like a series. If they kill all your favorite characters, like there's been series that they killed everybody, and now there's all these new people. It's like, well, geez, it's not the same show. It's not Friends if you don't have Chandler and and Rachel and all these characters. If suddenly it was Ted and Mary and Cheech, you'd be like, well, they're all friends and they knew the other friends, but they're not my friends. And so these people, my heart's not with them. I'm glad there was a nice movie, and I'm glad I got to see Luke and Leia and Han one more time. But if that's how it is, it's not for me. And that's basically where I would say, let it die, let it end. I can still buy some Legos of the sets that I like. I can still follow it with you, but I don't have to have it in my invest. And I think that's the best for most people anyway. We should move on and get a life, as they said in the old days with William Shatner. We should enjoy it and maybe not look into it so much. And maybe that was the plan. Maybe in a year or so we're going to figure it out, and they'll have more interviews, and they'll say, yeah, we really just wanted to deconstruct the whole thing and start fresh. But why not do that after the third movie and then make all the future Star Wars movies?
All right. Because the next movie, JJ can just kind of reverse everything that he didn't like of this movie.
That's a bad plan.
Who knows?
That's the complete opposite.
It is a bad plan. It is a horrible plan. You should have consistency. You should have canon exist at least within a trilogy.
That's the complete opposite of a series. That's kind of like a hodgepodge of movies that fit in a similar world. And so if that really is the case, and he does backtrack things or make it, no, we were kidding, Rey really is the daughter of, Joe Blow, the former Jedi Master, and Snoke is really the offshoot of the king of Wishy-Washy Land or something like that. All right, well, fine, then he can do that. But like I said, I'll see it. I think this was the last one I'm rushing to. I didn't even want to do it, but I had originally thought I was going to see it with some friends, and then the friends had babies, and I couldn't, they weren't going to, and basically, well, I got my ticket still. I guess I'll still go. And it was basically a game time decision. I almost still wasn't going to go that day, but I was like, I'm in the city. I'm a few blocks away. I guess I should just go see the movie because I can say I saw it one way or the other. And I didn't expect to dislike it as much as I did. I didn't expect to love it, but I had hoped because I didn't follow all the backstories and stuff while they were making it. But I found out just enough. And then I was even more, more let down in a way. And I think what's happening when you read the stories and stuff, again, it's making money, but it's not making Star Wars money, and it's not beloved like even Force Awakens when it came out was. This is a very polarizing, not good movie. It's not terrible. It's just not good, as I say.
Now, in spite of how you feel about this movie, what are you going to do in about 6 months or 5 months when the Han Solo film comes out?
Of course, I'm going to keep it on my radar. I'm not going to just say, Star Wars, close my ears. I never want to hear about it again. It's dead to me in the sense that it's not the most important thing is my life, which it was for many of the years, not all in a row, but many of the years I felt it was a very important part of the things I read about, the things I watched, the things I was interested in, all revolved or stemmed from that. But I really have no interest in the Han Solo movie. I'll be interested in how they build the Legos to make the older Millennium Falcon. I'll be interested in seeing some of the artwork.
Oh, I can tell you how. They're just going to swap the dish.
Yeah. Well, seriously. But, I mean, we've seen some artwork that may or may not be fake that kind of looks like, they did a little of this and they did a little of that. Okay, I don't need that story to be told. Rogue One was a story I like to hear and I like to see. Han Solo, it's legend. Why do I need to know what he did? Everybody was a hero. Patton was a hero. Do I want to see what he did when he was a little boy? I don't think I need that. And so I don't feel I need this, especially since Han Solo is Harrison Ford to me. Now, they did it with Young Indy, and they were able to make great Young Indy adventures, so it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just in front of me, it's not something I'm focusing on. And when it comes out, it'll have to have such better vibes and word of mouth than this last movie, The Last Jedi, for me to clamor into it, whatever.
All right, well, thank you for giving us our very different opinion from all the other opinions we've had, including my own. And I hope that the future movies hopefully bring you back into the fold and don't disappoint not only you, but even me and everybody and a lot of other people that are having a very similar reaction. So thank you.
It was a pleasure. This very special reunion episode.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed today's episode. I'd like to thank James for joining me today for his take on The Last Jedi. We finished our The Last Jedi review. I think at this point, we beat it to death pretty much in terms of how we all feel about it. We will probably talk about this again sometime later this year when the Blu-ray comes out. Apparently, this is going to be the first 4K release of the film, and hopefully there's a 3D version in the horizon because I like to watch it in 3D just like I did in the movie theater. Or at least until there's just no more 3D available, which at this rate, it looks like it might be happening, sooner or later. But in the meantime, yes, we do have Solo, the Han Solo film coming up in a couple of months. And as of now, we are still waiting for any signs of a trailer or a teaser or something, which by the time this episode is out, maybe they will have given us something. But this is a scary proposition here. This is a movie that it's right around the corner, and I haven't heard much about it, haven't seen much about it. We'll see which way that goes. So on behalf of everyone here, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time here at GeekFest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Everybody set. 3, 2, 1.
Action.
Episode 8. Gosh. The first film didn't even have a number.
Ryan has written a story that's unexpected but right. Some of the stuff that happens, people are going to be like, oh my God.
Even though I think I know it all, they throw things at me story-wise I never could have imagined.
And even though everybody knows that it's the second in a trilogy, it feels like its own thing.
Star Wars is so cool because there's all these creatures and all these amazing visual effects. But all the characters are also so complex.
Ryan needs to work on his Wookiee sounds. It's ridiculous. New director can't even just learn a Wookiee sound.
It feels like the storylines are becoming more established. We're really getting to know these new characters, also with the characters that we know and love. We're seeing their lives change.
Everything is being shifted in the opposite way to what the audience expected after 7. Ryan's made Star Wars fresh and new.
I'm hoping it'll be a little shocking, but I'm hoping it'll feel real and honest.
It's our most ancient story of good against evil, told in the most fascinating way, but it has a real spiritual depth to it.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
It's a wrap!
If you would like to subscribe to our show, send us messages, or see video links to some of the topics we talked about today, please visit our homepage at geekfestrants.com or our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or iTunes at GeekFest Rants.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
GeekFest Rants is produced by Carlos Perron, copyright 2018.
This broadcast is part of the IC Robots Radio Network. Visit icrobots.com for this and many other nerd/nostalgia related podcasts. You won't be sorry for long.